any of you listening now is a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter or a father or a mother, usually I'm assuming in this blessed month, you have that special person who is standing and preparing for setting the table for everybody to sit and have iftar. So remember this special person after you've finished your breaking your fast, your iftar, with kind words, be it a dua, for which inshallah you can be rewarded, be it by standing and helping this person set up the table or wash the dishes or just tidy up the kitchen afterwards. And even if you are a male, a man, this does not take away from you being a man whatsoever. On the contrary, as you've probably heard, the beloved Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, he used to do things by himself at home. This is actually a praised trait. Do it and remember the sincere intention in your heart. Inshallah ta'ala, we will continue from where we stopped yesterday, and we were talking about the meaning of the first testification of faith. No one is God except Allah. So we said that Allah ta'ala is the sustainer. Allah ta'ala is also al-alim. Allah ta'ala is attributed with knowledge. I would like to remind you of the sincere intention in attending this lesson, seeking reward from Allah Ta'ala. So Allah Ta'ala is Al-Alim. He is the omniscient. Allah is attributed with knowledge. And the knowledge of Allah, as all of his attributes, as we said yesterday, is eternal and everlasting. It means it has no beginning and no end, and it does not change. So the knowledge of Allah is not like our knowledge. Our knowledge changes. We learn new things, so it increases. We forget sometimes, so it decreases. It changes. However, the knowledge of Allah is encompassing of everything. Nothing is hidden from the knowledge of Allah. So even when we are all alone in our home, God knows about us. God knows what's in our hearts. God knows about what our intentions are. So Allah Ta'ala knows about everything. He knows about things before they happen. Okay? So Allah Ta'ala is omniscient and He is Al-Qadir. He is omnipotent. So Allah Ta'ala is attributed with power. And Allah has power over everything. Allah Ta'ala is the one who does whatever He wills. So whatever Allah Ta'ala eternally, meaning without a beginning, willed to be, it will be. At the time that Allah willed for it to be, it will be. And whatever Allah eternally did not will to be, it will not be. And this is what we say in Arabic, ما شاء الله كان وما لم يشأ لم يكن. This is among the essentials of the belief of Muslims, that whatever Allah willed to be, it will be. And the will of Allah does not change. It is one of His attributes, so it does not change. Whatever He willed, it will happen. So those of you who are hearing me right now, you are hearing me because Allah willed for you to be able to hear me right now. Wherever you might be right now, whether in your home, in another place, visiting a friend, wherever you are right now, you are at your place because Allah eternally willed for you to be at that place right now. So, brothers and sisters, I would like to draw your attention to an important matter. Dua, making supplication dua for something that is good with a sincere intention is rewardable, okay? So for example, when we ask Allah Ta'ala to grant us good health, or to make us pious, or to grant us to be able to do more of the good deeds, when we do that with a sincere intention, this is rewardable. But if Allah Ta'ala did not will for that to happen, it will not happen. And if Allah willed for it to happen, it will happen. So the dua, supplication, does not change the will of Allah. Nothing changes the will of Allah. The will of Allah is eternal and everlasting. It does not change. Now, having said that, this does not mean for us not to say dua. No, because as we said, making dua, supplication, with a sincere intention for something that is good is rewardable. And it was mentioned that there are particular times when dua, inshallah, will be accepted. And if it is accepted, it means Allah willed for that to happen. Okay? So we take by causes and we make dua. And if Allah willed for it to happen, it will happen. So I repeat, dua does not change the will of Allah. Nothing changes the will of Allah. The will of Allah, in Arabic, al-mashi'ah or al-irada, it does not change. The attributes of Allah do not change. He is the creator. He does not change. He specifies changes in his creation. Okay? So the will of Allah does not change. The Muslim believes that the will of Allah does not change. Because if a person believed that the will of Allah changes, if a person believed that the will of Allah changes, he would be attributing a created attribute to Allah, because what changes from something to another is created. Okay? What changes from a state to another is created. It is a need of the one who specified it with this change. So whoever attributes change to Allah or to any of the attributes of Allah, such as his will, this person would be attributing a created attribute to Allah, and by that he would not be a Muslim. Okay? So if you know of a person who believed that the will of Allah changes because of a dua or because of giving charity or for any other reason, advise this person to leave out that belief and to say the two Shahaadah, the two testification of faith, to become a Muslim. Because believing that the will of Allah changes contradicts the basic of the Islamic belief. Okay? So if you know of anyone who believed that the will of Allah changes, advise them to leave out that belief and to believe that the will of Allah does not change. It has no beginning and no end. And of course, advise them to say the two Shahaadah to become a Muslim. And as we said last time, the person becomes a Muslim by saying the two testifications of faith, not by saying astaghfirullah, not by asking Allah for forgiveness. No, if a person fell into what is kufr, blasphemy, he returns to Islam by saying the two Shahaadah, the two testifications of faith. So whatever Allah Ta'ala willed to be, it will be. And whatever Allah did not will to be, it will never be. Okay? Therefore, the Muslim relies on Allah. Whenever you are going through hardships, you rely on Allah and you believe firmly that what you are going through is what Allah eternally willed for you, and it will happen to you. What Allah willed for you, there is no escaping from that. It will happen to you. So rely on Allah and continue doing the good deeds, even when going through hardships. Allah Ta'ala is the one without whom no sin is avoided and no obedience is fulfilled. I will explain what that means. This means when the person does not commit a sin, this is because Allah protected him from that sin. And when the Muslim performs a good deed, it is because Allah Ta'ala enabled him to do that good deed. And this is what is referred to in Arabic when we say this great dhikr, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. This is a great dhikr to say. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salatu wassalam, he said that this dhikr helps for 99 ailments, the least of which is worry. So repeat this dhikr daily. Say it with a sincere intention, properly. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Say it daily about 300 times or more with a sincere intention. And inshallah, you will see with time, when you are consistent, inshallah, you will see the benefits of this great dhikr. On the YouTube channel, you can find this dhikr written in a way that helps you pronunciate it if you are not an Arabic speaker. Inshallah, I will put that link also for you later on. So it means that when the Muslim performs a good deed, it is because Allah Ta'ala enabled him to perform it. And when we stay away from sins, it is because Allah Ta'ala protected us from that. So the person should always remember that and thank Allah for that. Allah Ta'ala is attributed with all proper attributes of perfection, and He is exalted above all what is considered imperfection if attributed to Him. So Allah is attributed with the perfect attributes that befit Him, and He is clear of all what does not befit to be attributed to Him. So I will tell you, everything that is among the attributes of the creation does not befit to be attributed to the Creator. Whatever is among the attributes of the creation, anything that you can think of that is among the attributes of the creation, that is having a body, having a form, having a size, a shape, color, size, boundaries, weight, length, movement, change, going down or up, rest, being in a place, being in a direction. All of these are attributes of created things. So they do not befit to be attributed to the Creator. This means Allah is clear of these attributes. He is not attributed with any of these attributes. For the Creator is not like His creation at all. And we said that Allah is attributed with the perfect attributes that befit Him. So a person cannot say that he wants to say about Allah that He is intelligent. No, because intelligence is an attribute of the creation. And it is not praise when said about Allah, because it is an attribute of a creation. What has a mind, which is created. So the person cannot say, but this is a positive attribute, I want to say that about Allah. No, this is a positive attribute when said about a human, when said about something that is created, a human. But it does not befit to say about the Creator. Therefore, we said Allah is attributed with the perfect attributes that befit Him. Okay? That befit Allah. So anything that is among the attributes of the creation does not befit to be attributed to Allah, even if it is praise when said about a creation, such as being intelligent. It is praise when said about a creation, but it does not befit to be said about the Creator. Why? Because it is an attribute of creations, and God is not like His creation. So when somebody attributes Allah with a created attribute, he is not praising Allah by that, not whatsoever. On the contrary, he is going against the belief of all Muslims, against the belief of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So when he is saying an attribute of a creation about Allah, he is not praising Allah. So if a person says about Allah that he is a body, he's not praising Allah. If he says about Allah that he is sitting on the throne, he is not praising Allah. He is contradicting the belief of Muslims. He has attributed Allah with being a body and with being contained in a place and with having an upper part and a lower part, because he's saying that he sits. This is not praise. Claiming that Allah is in the upper direction is not praise. The direction is a created thing. God created it. It did not exist, but Allah existed eternally, and there was no upper place, but Allah existed. So Allah Ta'ala, who is attributed with the perfect attributes, he is not in need of this upper direction. He created it and he's not in need of it. So claiming that God is in the upper direction is not praise, not at all. Who is in the upper direction in the skies? The angels. And brothers and sisters in Islam, even though the angels are in the upper direction and the angels are honored creations, yet Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, who is the best of all the creations of Allah, so he is better than the angels, he is not in the sky. He is not in the sky. He is in the grave in Al-Madinah, alive in his grave in Al-Madinah. So just because something is in the upper direction, it does not mean that it is better than something that is in the lower direction. Okay? So the angels, they are in the sky and they are honored creations of Allah. They are all Muslims. But Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam is better than them. He is the best of all the creation. So Allah Ta'ala is attributed with the perfect attributes that befit him. Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. I would like you to always remember this verse, okay? Always remember the verse, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. What does this verse mean? It means nothing resembles Allah at all. Nothing. There's no exception to that. Nothing resembles Allah whatsoever. So always believe firmly in the meaning of this verse. Always. When you have this firm belief in your heart, whoever claims the opposite, inshallah, they will not be able to misguide you. Those people nowadays who attribute to Allah created attributes, inshallah, they will not be able to misguide you when you always remember the verse, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, which means nothing resembles Allah at all. And remember, brothers and sisters in Islam, the verses of the Quran do not contradict each other. The verses of the Quran do not contradict each other. So there is no verse in the Quran that attributes a place to Allah. No verse. There is no verse in the Quran that attributes created attributes to Allah, such as being a body. No verse, okay? So if a person tells you, but it is stated in the Quran that he is in the upper direction, no. And they do not have any proof to that whatsoever. So do not panic. Do not hesitate, do not panic, stay firm on the belief of Ahlus Sunnah, which is that Allah is not like his creation, he is not a body, he is not contained in any place, not in the sky, not on the throne, not on earth. He exists without a place. If he tells you, but in the Quran it states, Al-Rahmanu ala al-Arshi istawa, yes, This is a verse in the Quran for sure. Yet they are misinterpreting the verse. The verse does not say whatsoever that Allah sits, or that Allah is in the upper direction, or that He is on the throne. No, not at all. The verse has another meaning that the scholars of Ahlus Sunnah interpreted it, and they said it means that Allah Ta'ala subjugates Al-Arsh. Okay, so it does not mean that Allah is on the throne, it does not mean that He is in the sky, and none of the other verses say that Allah is in the sky or on the throne. So I would like you to be aware, because unfortunately nowadays these people exist, and in big numbers, not as big as Ahlus Sunnah. The number of millions of Muslims is greater, okay? So the Muslims are in millions and millions all over the world, and they all believe that Allah is not like His creation at all. All Muslims around the world believe that Allah is not in the sky, He is not on the throne. They believe that God exists without a place, as He did before creating all places and directions, and before He created the throne. And after creating them, God does not change. So remember then the verse, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Notice the verse starts by لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. And then the verse tells us that Allah Ta'ala is attributed with attributes. I will tell you what they are. And remember, the attributes of Allah are not like our attributes whatsoever. The continuation of the verse is وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. It means, and Allah Ta'ala is attributed with hearing and sight. But you already know that Allah is not like His creation. So you know that Allah hears without ears. Ears are created. Who created them? Allah. And Allah is not like His creation. Eyes are created. Who created eyes? Allah. And Allah is not like His creation. So Allah Ta'ala hears all what can be heard without ears. And Allah sees without eyes, without the need of any instruments. Okay, so the verse starts with لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. So of course, then we understand that Allah is attributed with hearing and sight, which is not like our hearing, not the way we hear, and not the way we see. We see with pupils, with instruments. We need light. In Surah Ash-Shura, okay, in Surah Ash-Shura, and so Allah Ta'ala sees without the need of any instruments, not a pupil, not an eye, no need for light, okay? And Allah Ta'ala hears without ears. So the verse means nothing resembles Allah in any way, and He is attributed with hearing and sight. Allah Ta'ala is eternal. And we mentioned that yesterday, which means that the existence of Allah has no beginning. He is the creator, so His existence has no beginning. For what has a beginning to its existence is created. It means it did not exist. Allah brought it from non-existence into existence, so it became existent, because Allah created it. So the creation, all the creation, has a beginning to its existence. This whole universe has a beginning to its existence. Allah, who is the creator of all the creation, He is eternal, meaning His existence has no beginning. And the attributes of Allah have no beginning. So Allah Ta'ala is eternal, and everything else is originated, meaning everything other than Allah has a beginning to its existence. Allah Ta'ala is the only creator, and everything else is a creation. So everything that came into existence among entities or deeds, from the fine dust to the grand throne, which is Al-Arsh, which is the biggest creation size-wise, along with every movement and rest, intentions and thoughts of the slaves are all created by Allah. And this we also touched upon yesterday. We said that Allah Ta'ala is the creator of entities and deeds, also of our actions. Okay, so these created things, they were created by Allah Ta'ala. Nature does not create. Cause does not create. The creator of everything is Allah Ta'ala. So things come into existence by Allah's eternal will. Eternal again means without a beginning. Everything comes into existence by Allah's eternal will, power, knowledge, and with his destining. And as this was signified in the verse, وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. The verse means that Allah Ta'ala created everything. Everything, no exception. Entities and deeds. وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. So it means Allah Ta'ala created everything. It means He brought it from non-existence into existence. And as we said, creating in this said meaning is attributed to only Allah. We do not create. We cannot bring things from non-existence into existence. The scholars gave an example, and they said that if a person hit a glass with a stone and the glass broke, the act of hitting and the breaking and the state of the glass being broken were created all by Allah. So the slave acquires the act, but the creator of the act is Allah. I'll give you another example. If I do this hand movement, I acquire the act. I don't create it. So if Allah Ta'ala did not will for this movement to exist, it will not exist. Okay? So the slave acquires the act, directs his intention towards performing the act, but the creator is Allah. So if Allah does not create the movement, it will not exist. Okay? And I gave you the example also yesterday that if a person who is paralyzed is not able to stand, even though he might want to stand, but if he is paralyzed, he's not able to stand, it is because Allah Ta'ala did not create that standing in him. Allah Ta'ala did not create the ability and the movement of that slave, because the creator is Allah. The slave does not create. Okay? So Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, لَهَا مَا كَسَبَتْ وَعَلَيْهَا مَا اكْتَسَبَتْ. This means every individual self will be rewarded by Allah for the good deeds it acquired. Kasabat, not created. For the good deeds it acquired, and will be held accountable for the sins it committed. So this verse is also proof that we do not create our actions. So we are held accountable for what we acquire. Okay? So when we acquire our actions, if this is something good that we did, rewardable, good for us. And if it is something that is bad and this person is accountable, so then this person will be held accountable for the sin that the slave committed. Allah Ta'ala is attributed with many attributes. And as I told you before, all the attributes of Allah are not like the attributes of the creation, okay? Among the attributes of Allah is speech. The speech of Allah is not with letters, it is not in a language, not with words. It has no beginning and no end, as all of his attributes. We speak with languages. We use our tongue, our lips for movement when we speak. All these are created. The tongue is created, the lips are created, the movement is created, languages are created. Allah created them all. So the speech of Allah is not in a language. It is not with words. It is not composed. It is not interrupted. It has no beginning and no end. It has no sounds, no letters, okay? It's not in Arabic and not in any other language. All languages are created. Inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow we will talk more about this attribute. It is very important to understand it well. Inshallah, before ending, we will say Tahleel together. I ask Allah Ta'ala to grant us, to enable us to fast this blessed month of Ramadan, to grant us a sincere intention when performing the good deeds. And I ask Allah Ta'ala to grant us seeing the night of Al-Qadr in this blessed month, and grant us to make dua when seeing Laylat al-Qadr. Before making tahleel yesterday, a young child said Assalamu alaikum before we ended our lesson. If this young child is with us today, I just want to tell you, you are a sweetheart, and I'm very proud of you for sitting and attending the lesson and listening. May Allah bless you. Let's say together tahleel.